All right, everyone, get ready because today we're going on a hunt. Yeah,
Hunch.
a hunt for a phantom island.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
It's Isla Brazil.
Isla Brazil?
Sometimes it's called Hy-Brasil.
Hy-Brasil, okay.
And this mysterious island has been popping up and vanishing from maps for centuries.
Oh, wow. So this isn't just like some, vague legend whispered by sailors out on the high seas.
Right.
We're talking about an island that was meticulously charted,
Yes.
showing up on maps like the real deal. But here's the thing.
Okay.
It was said to only appear for one day,
Why?
every 7 years, shrouded in mist.
You're kidding.
No, so talk about a challenge.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Setting sail, knowing your target, could literally disappear before your eyes.
Right. So that's what we're going to be diving into today.
Right.
We're using a Spanish Wikipedia article all about Isla Brazil.
Interesting.
And even in Wikipedia,
Yeah.
the details are so captivating.
Oh, yeah. Some accounts describe it as a technologically advanced civilization. Others claim it was a paradise overflowing with unique life.
Okay.
And some even say it's a haven for magical beings.
Whoa.
These stories are like woven deep into Irish folklore.
So we have a hidden island, maybe advanced tech, maybe magical creatures. This is shaping up to be quite the deep dive.
It is.
The article places Isla Brazil off the coast of Ireland. And get this,
Okay.
it even appeared on serious maps,
Whoa.
like the Atlas Catalan from 1375
Okay.
and the Piri-Reis map from 1513.
Wow. It's mind-blowing how many people believed in its existence.
It is.
And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The fact that cartographers took these reports seriously,
Yeah.
even without concrete proof,
Right.
tells us a lot about how people viewed the world back then.
Like how so?
Well, remember, maps weren't always about pure geographic accuracy.
You mean they were like
Part science.
part fantasy?
Exactly. They were also expressions of cultural beliefs, mythology, and sometimes even political agendas.
Oh, interesting.
Take the Piri-Reis map, for example.
Okay. It was commissioned by a powerful Ottoman admiral,
All right.
including a mythical island, whether real or not,
Right.
could be a way of showcasing the vast reach and knowledge of his empire.
So adding a dash of the fantastical could boost your rep back then.
It seems that way.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of names,
Yeah.
I found it curious that Brazil has nothing to do with the country. Brazil, right?
Right. The name for the South American country comes from a type of tree,
Okay.
Palo, Brazil,
Calo Brazil.
which was prized for its vibrant red dye.
Interesting.
And get this, the word Brazil itself
Yeah.
likely comes from the Portuguese word for ember,
Oh, wow.
referencing that fiery color.
So the Phantom Island and the country are connected purely by coincidence.
It seems that way.
That's wild.
It does make you wonder about the twisting paths of history and language.
Yeah, it really does.
But if the island isn't real,
Right?
where did the idea even come from?
That's a great question. Like, what sparked this whole legend in the first place? Right. And that's a question that has baffled historians and explorers for ages.
For sure.
There are several possibilities, though.
Okay.
One is that early sailors,
Yeah.
perhaps due to rough seas, strange weather, or just plain bad navigation,
Okay.
misidentified existing islands as this elusive Brazil.
That makes sense.
Another theory is that Isla Brazil was never meant to be literal.
Oh.
It was a symbol, a representation of a mythical paradise that people longed for.
So instead of a physical place, it was more like
A dream.
a dream.
This perfect, unattainable ideal.
This perfect, unattainable ideal.
Okay, and that idea of a hidden advanced civilization, it echoes throughout Irish folklore.
Really?
Yeah, take the Tuatha De Danann, for example.
Okay.
Myth says they retreated underground when the Gaels arrived.
Interesting.
It's this recurring theme of a lost golden age.
Right.
Perhaps reflecting a longing for a time when things were better, or at least perceived to be.
So even if Isla Brazil itself wasn't real, the hopes and fears it represents, those are very real.
Yeah.
But people didn't just dream about it, right?
No.
There were actual expeditions to find this island.
Oh, absolutely. Especially from Bristol in the late 15th century.
Wow.
Some were likely fueled by the desire for new lands and resources.
Right. The classic age of exploration motive.
Exactly. But others, I suspect,
Yeah.
were driven by a genuine belief in the island's existence.
Wow. Imagine the disappointment when they came back empty-handed, all that excitement for nothing.
It makes you wonder, though, was it for nothing?
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. There is one theory that connects Isla Brazil to a real underwater feature.
Okay.
It's called the Porcupine Bank.
Porcupine Bank.
And it's located about 200 kilometers west of Ireland.
Are we saying people might have mistaken a sandbar for a mystical island?
It might sound far-fetched,
Yeah.
but hear me out.
Okay.
The Porcupine Bank is relatively shallow.
Okay.
During periods of extremely low tides, parts of it could have been exposed,
Right.
creating the illusion of an island that vanished as the tide came back in.
Oh, so that could explain the whole appearing once a week thing.
Right.
But that's kind of funny.
It is.
This grand search for paradise. And maybe it was just a sandbar all along.
It does make you chuckle a bit, but
Yeah.
even if the Porcupine Bank theory is true,
Yeah.
it doesn't diminish the power of the myth itself.
Okay.
Remember we talked about maps reflecting more than just geography?
Right.
Well, the same goes for myths.
Okay.
They reflect our hopes, our fears, our longings.
So even if Hy-Brasil isn't real in a physical sense,
Right.
the things it represents,
Yeah,
those are very real, and they've had a real impact.
exactly.
Speaking of impact, I'm curious about how Hy-Brasil has seeped into our culture. Like, has it shown up in art, literature, music?
Oh, absolutely. Hy-Brasil has been a muse for countless poems, songs, and stories.
Interesting.
It often symbolizes a lost paradise,
Okay.
a hidden world, a place of magic and wonder.
I like it.
It's like this blank canvas onto which people project their deepest desires and anxieties.
I see. Do any specific examples come to mind?
Sure, the Irish poet and playwright J.M. Synge
Okay.
wrote a beautiful poem called Hy-Brasil,
Hy-Brasil.
where he describes the island as a land of heart's desire
Oh, wow.
that lies beyond the western wave.
I love that land of heart's desire.
Yeah,
It really captures the essence of what Hy-Brasil represents, doesn't it?
it does.
This yearning for something better, something more. No wonder it's been such a rich source of inspiration.
And it goes beyond poetry.
Okay.
Hy-Brasil pops up in paintings, illustrations, even video games.
Really?
Yeah, it's often depicted as this lush green island,
No.
sometimes with ancient ruins, hidden waterfalls,
Whoa.
maybe even a few mythical creatures roaming about.
See, now that's an island I'd want to visit.
Right.
So we've got this mythical island inspiring artists for centuries.
Yeah.
But do you think the belief in Hy-Brasil also tells us something about the mindset of people in the past?
Definitely think about the age of exploration,
Okay.
when maps were still being filled in
Right.
and the oceans held so many unknowns.
Yeah.
The idea of undiscovered lands, mythical islands, it was all very real in people's minds.
It makes sense back then. The world must have felt so much bigger and more mysterious than it does today.
Exactly. And when you've got all those blank spaces on the map,
Yeah.
it's only natural to fill them in with stories, with myths, with legends.
Right.
Hy-Brasil could have been a way for people to cope with all that uncertainty,
Right.
to dream of a better place,
Uh-huh.
or simply to make sense of the vastness of the world around them.
It's like saying, even if we haven't found it yet, it could be out there.
Right.
It's a very hopeful way of looking at things.
It is.
So even though Hy-Brasil is probably not a real physical place, it holds a very real place in human imagination, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a reminder that stories, even the ones that turn out to be fictional,
Right.
can have a profound impact on how we understand the world and our place in it.
Okay, so let me ask this.
Yeah.
Now that we know Hy-Brasil likely doesn't exist,
Yeah.
does its legend still hold any value for us today?
I think it does. Myths and legends, even the debunked ones,
Okay.
can teach us valuable lessons about history, culture, and the human condition.
Like, what? Give me an example.
Well, for starters, Hy-Brasil reminds us that there's still a sense of wonder and mystery out there.
Okay.
Even in our hyper-connected, information-saturated world,
Right.
it's a call to keep exploring,
Yeah.
to keep questioning, and to never lose that childlike curiosity.
I like that in a world that can feel increasingly predictable, it's good to remember that there's still so much we don't know, so much left to discover, even if it's just in our own minds.
Right, and on a deeper level, Hy-Brasil speaks to our fundamental human desire for something better.
Okay.
A longing for a world free from suffering, conflict, and imperfection.
Right.
This vision of a paradise lost, whether it exists in reality or not,
Right.
can still be a source of inspiration and hope.
So it's less about finding a physical island and more about what that island represents.
Exactly. It's about striving to create beauty,
Uh-huh.
to fight for justice, to make the world a better place,
Right.
even in small ways.
I love that. So even though Hy-Brasil may not exist on any map, its legacy can live on in our hearts and actions. We can all be explorers in our own way, right?
Yes.
seeking out our own personal paradises, whether those are actual places, states of mind, or creative pursuits.
Beautifully said. The quest for Hy-Brasil,
Yeah.
even if it didn't lead to a real-world discovery,
Right.
has certainly yielded treasures in the realm of human imagination and culture. Sometimes the journey itself is more important than the destination.
And speaking of journeys, I think ours through the mystery of Hy-Brasil is coming to an end. But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear. Well, we've sailed the seas of mystery, charted the legends, and even dipped our toes into the science behind this elusive island.
And along the way, we've uncovered some fascinating insights
We have.
about history, map making, and the enduring power of myths.
It's true. Who knew maps could be so sneaky?
Right.
But also kind of awesome.
It's a good reminder that even the most factual documents
Right.
can be influenced by the beliefs and biases of their creators.
Okay, back to Hy-Brasil.
Yeah,
It might not exist in the way we first imagined,
right.
but it's left a pretty significant mark, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Hy-Brasil embodies our fascination with the unknown, our desire for something better, and the way our imaginations can shape our perception of the world.
It's funny, we started off looking for a physical island and ended up exploring something much deeper.
That's often how these deep dives go.
Yeah,
Sometimes the most valuable discoveries aren't the ones we set out to find.
that's true. So for our listeners who might be feeling a bit lost at sea,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway from all this? What can we learn from a myth like Hy-Brasil, even if it's not real?
I think the biggest lesson is that the line between belief and reality can be surprisingly blurry.
Okay.
And even if something isn't real in a scientific sense, the impact it has on culture, on art, on our collective imagination, that's very real.
So we're not just chasing shadows here.
Not at all. Hy-Brasil reminds us that even in a world increasingly defined by facts and data, there's still room for wonder, for mystery, for the possibility of something truly extraordinary.
It's like that saying, the map is not the territory.
Right.
Even if Hy-Brasil isn't on any map,
Yeah.
the ideas it represents,
Yeah,
those are still out there waiting to be explored.
exactly. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. The search itself,
Okay.
the yearning for something more, that's what keeps us moving forward, pushing boundaries and ultimately making the world a more interesting place.
So what's the final word on Hy-Brasil?
Oh.
Is it a myth? A misunderstanding?
Right.
A sandbar with good PR?
Honestly, I think it's all of those things and more. It's a testament to the power of storytelling, to our enduring fascination with the unknown,
Right.
and to the human desire to believe in something bigger than ourselves.
Well said. And maybe, just maybe on some misty morning when the tide is just right, one of us will catch a glimpse of that elusive island on the horizon.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never lose your sense of wonder.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, happy exploring.